Well, that's loud.
And welcome back, everybody, to PonyFans Live. PonyFans Live is brought to you by Lakewood's First and 10, located at the northeast corner of Mockingbird and Abrams in Dallas, and recently named by D Magazine as the best sports bar in Dallas. Game Day Cloth. Love your team, love your clothes. Visit their store at the corner of Legacy and the Tollway in Plano. And check out GameDayCloth.com for the finest SMU gear anywhere. And of course, by PonyFans.com, the oldest, largest, and only free website dedicated to the SMU Mustangs and Pony fans everywhere. PonyFans Live will be a weekly show throughout the season here at Lakewood's First and 10. We invite everybody to come out and join us. If you can't be here in person, it is recorded on YouTube, obviously, and will be up on PonyFans each week. Also, check out PonyFans to find out every week's guests. With that said, please help me welcome our guests for tonight's show. On my left, the leader of the SMU wide receivers, one of the elite recruiters in the nation, and I'm willing to bet the only football coach in the state of Texas with a surfboard in his office.
Yeah.
Wide receivers coach Jeff Reinebold.
Aloha.
And on my right, a man who transferred away from SMU after the 1986 season and came back to help restart the program. Also the recipient of possibly the most famous pass in the last 20 years, maybe in the history of the program, the game known as the Miracle on Mockingbird. Before Jeremy Johnson, before Emmanuel Sanders, the original number 17 wide receiver, Michael Bowen.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to start with Michael, and you were a senior in high school at J.J. Pierce in Richardson.
Yes, sir.
SMU was a great team in the 80s, and is close to home. Were you even considering anywhere else, or did you know all along SMU was where you wanted to be?
Yeah, SMU was what I grew up loving. I had my uncle played baseball at SMU back in the 60s. My mom went to SMU, and it was just something I grew up with. It was the Pony Express. Plus, in elementary school, I was a Bowie Mustang. And in high school, I was a J.J. Pierce Mustang. We ran the Pony Express I formation, and the da-na-na-na-na-na-na was our fight song. So, man, I was down.
You had no choice.
I had no choice. And we had the same colors, same Mustang helmet. Yeah, so I knew where I wanted to go.
So you're at SMU 1 year, and the bottom falls out.
Yeah.
Football is shut down.
Yeah.
Walk us through that a little bit. What was that process like when you're waiting for some sort of an announcement, and then the day that it came down that they're taking your team away? What did that feel like?
I tell you what, it was pretty bad, because here I was at J.J. Pierce High School. I had a real good senior year. I was the 12-5A offensive MVP, and I got 0 scholarship offers from 0 schools. Only school that was recruiting me at that time was Tulsa, the Tulsa Hurricanes. And right before signing day, they called me up and they said, Michael, we've decided to go with someone a little bit bigger than you. And I told them, I said, well, I've decided to go with a bigger football program than you, SMU. And shut them right up. But anyway, so you know, I went to SMU. I had to walk on because that year we didn't have any scholarships, and I ended up making the travel squad, starting the entire season on special teams. I was made team captain of the special teams for a week. Coincidentally, it was on my birthday against University of Texas. So, you know, I was here, I made it, I walked on, I did it the hard way, and then here they pull the rug out from under me. So, yeah, it was pretty devastating for me.
When football was taken away at SMU, you ended up going to the University of Georgia.
Yeah.
How'd you pick Georgia? What made you decide to go there?
Well, I had a few scholarship offers from some other schools, but I just wanted to go play with a real good program, a top program, challenge myself. So I walked on at the University of Georgia and ended up playing for them that year in '87.
All right, now one of your former SMU teammates is here, Brett Kershaw, who also was on that '86 team.
Yeah.
He stayed in school at SMU.
Yeah.
Did you ever think about staying as a non-football student?
I'm a football player. I couldn't do that. I needed to go, so I needed to go. No, hey, nothing against Kershaw, but for me, man, I had to go play. Even though it hurt me, I had to go play. However, he was always a better football player than me anyway.
When you got to Georgia, did you figure that's where you'd end up, or did you leave knowing that once football was restarted at SMU that you were going to end up coming back?
No, I was a Bulldog then, and I thought I was going to be a Bulldog. And when I heard that Forrest Gregg was coming back to lead the team again and to restart the program, I knew I had to come back to SMU at that point.
Okay, I was going to ask. Coach Gregg gets hired as the coach.
Yeah.
I mean, there are a million coaches out there, but he was an All-American at SMU.
Yeah.
He was a Hall of Fame player with the Green Bay Packers. Vince Lombardi called him the greatest player he ever coached. He coached the Bengals into the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
What was your first impression of Coach Gregg when he took over the program after you came back from Georgia?
Well, it was kind of a fun story because I already knew that I was going to come back to SMU, but I didn't let Forrest Gregg know. I just called him up and told him I was interested, and he said, well, you have to get a release from Georgia. So I called Georgia, told him I needed a release, went to meet Forrest Gregg, and he's starting to sell me on the program. I walk in his office, we're talking, he starts selling me on the program. I said, listen, Coach Gregg, I'm already coming. So then he started game planning with me right away. It was pretty cool.
So on what's essentially a recruiting visit, he's already game planning with you?
Yeah, I told him, I said, hey, you can cut the chase, I'm already coming. This is my school. So, yeah, and then we started game planning and we talking about the run and shoot, and which is incredible offense. These guys are doing it now. I think they invented it. You guys invented it, man. The June Jones guys and whatnot, coaching staff. It was a great offense, great opportunity, and I just knew that, that's where my heart was, SMU Mustangs. So.
Okay, I was going to ask, you at J.J. Pierce, then you go to SMU, leave for Georgia, and come back. Are you playing in 4 different offenses in 4 different years? And how hard is that transition, changing the terminology, changing the coaches, changing the teammates? How hard is that process, the learning process?
Well, I was defense my first 2 years. So when I came back, I played offense in high school, played some defense too, but I was defense 86. I was a defensive back, a corner, and at 5'8", 168, had to be feisty. So I think that's where I learned that from. But then went to Georgia, and they had me at free safety. Played on all the special teams. Didn't really get any defensive playing time that year. But when I came back, chance to get back on the offensive side of the ball, and I knew they passed a lot, and I knew I was going to get a lot of touches. So.
Did any of your coaches and teammates, or even your friends off the field at Georgia, try to talk you into staying there in Athens rather than coming back?
Yeah, they thought I was crazy, but I had much more fun playing that 1989 season with the group of guys that I came back with, that we started the program with. I had a more fun time being 2-9 than I ever did playing for a 9-3 team, winning the Liberty Bowl and all that. There was something special back at SMU.
All right, why? What was more fun about it? Because you took it on the chin a couple times.
Yeah.
A couple teams ran up some big scores on you. What was so special about that group or about being at SMU that year?
Just having no respect, having to prove yourself. I think as a football player, if you forget that one thing that you have to prove yourself, every time you step on the field, every time you practice, every time you line up across somebody, you have to prove yourself each and every time. And that's kind of the position that we were put into, You got to step up and do it. If you forget that, that's the core of football, and we were forced into that. We couldn't be complacent. We couldn't think, hey, we did this last week, we did it because we weren't. Every single day, every single practice, we had to step up and prove ourselves. And most of us, like in my case, I was kind of a guy that everybody looked past. Hey, he's too small. He's not going to be able to play Division I. And so I always played with a chip on my shoulder. And I think if I could tell any young kids now, always play with a chip on your shoulder. Whether people think you're great, whether they don't. If you always play with a chip on your shoulder, then you can get this football thing and do well with it.
When you got together with your team, when you first came back to SMU, almost all freshmen.
Yeah.
And as you've said many times, a lot of these guys simply were not recruited by any other schools. Did you ever look around the meeting room or look around the practice field and think, what am I doing here and what have I gotten myself into?
Not a bit, because they're just like me. That's where I was. So it's like, hey, let's get together, let's do this thing. And when you get with Forrest Gregg, this man was just an incredible coach. He really had us buying into the program, buying into his philosophy, and we really did believe we could win. Maybe naive, maybe crazy, I don't know. But we took on a #1 Notre Dame team, and I guarantee you, almost everybody in that locker room, we really thought we had a chance to win. If everybody played the best game they could and we made no mistakes, we really believed that we might somehow could pull it off. And that's what made our team special.
When you come back in '89, your first game is against, ironically, this week's opponent, Rice, which is also, I believe, where your father played.
Yeah.
What was it like leading up to that first? You had a year and a half to build up to that first game.
Yeah.
What were your nerves and pregame emotions like compared to, say, your first game at Georgia or your first game in high school?
Yeah, it was. That was a long haul, going through an entire season. We practiced all week, and we got a scrimmage on a Saturday. We'd go over to Texas Stadium, or we might go over to the Cotton Bowl, trying to make it seem like a game, but it wasn't. It was practice, practice, practice. We got to go to a few games that year in '88 and visit TCU. We visited Baylor to see how the big guys are doing it, and you just had a lot of frustration and anxiety about the whole season coming up because we hadn't played too long. We've been looking at all the other guys play, how big they are, how fast they are, and told that we're not going to win anything, and so all that came to play. And well, we lined up there. 9-2-89 is what we used to call it. That was our kind of our battle cry. That was the game of when we played Rice, and we started off the game. We kicked off. We recovered the fumble on the opening kickoff, and that was kind of our detriment because we weren't ready for that kind of success that fast, and we really had a hard time with it. I think we had three and out after that, and yeah, I remember that was a tough moment right there.
You did drop that first game against Rice, but the next week you played the game that you will always be remembered for at SMU, which was University of Connecticut comes down to Dallas, and they were, I believe, Division II at that time.
Yeah.
You guys hung with them for a while, and then you fall behind a little in the second half, and with 5 minutes and change left, you're down 16 points. Was there any point where you or your teammates sort of said, all right, this isn't our week, we'll try again next week for that first win?
We never had that. Every game that we played, we always fought. We never gave up. It didn't matter if it was 30-0, 63-3, 95-21. We still played the full time, and we played hard, and we fought. That was just the nature of our team, and it came from our head coach, Forrest Gregg. That's how he taught us to be. We didn't know any other way.
SMU comes back. Mike Romo leads this rally, comes back. You get into this final drive. And how much time was left on the clock when you got that ball back?
I'm not sure.
A minute and a half or something?
Minute 34, I believe.
Okay, and then you, of course, caught the pass, the game-winning play on the last play of the game. Walk us through that play, because the way Coach Gregg tells it, you weren't supposed to catch the ball. No. Romo wasn't supposed to look in your direction.
Yeah.
How did you end up making that catch that has your name remembered in the SMU history books here?
Well, it was a play. It was our 2-point play that we practiced all week, and it was the back was Jason Wolf was supposed to do a little swing route out of the backfield, and there were no other options. We were supposed to kind of go out and be decoys and then block as well. And when the outside linebacker locked onto Jason when he did his swing route, Romo had nowhere else to go. We didn't have any other secondary routes. And Romo started heading for the line. My guy took off for Romo, and I kind of floated back to the back of the end zone and I raised my arms up and throw it my way. And he did, and that was history. That was it. Yeah. And by the way, I was really mad that play wasn't called to me because I helped us get down there, all the way down there, and it was going to Wolf. Let me tell you, I was pissed. I wasn't too happy, but hey,
So every time you see a sports TV show or movie where, the hero makes the game-winning play, they always slow it down. You got the dramatic music. It looks like the ball's moving in slow motion. When that ball's in midair, are you aware of what is going to happen if you make that catch?
No, man, it was just like pitch and catch I've been doing since I was a little kid. I didn't even think about it. It came. It happened so quick, and I wasn't going to drop it. And when it happened, it was great. And I'll just say it one more time for some of you guys that heard it before. It was total jubilation, Ted.
The infamous quote for the interview with Ted Dawson after the game.
I'm still getting stuff over that.
Your teammates still give you grief about it, right?
Yeah.
We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be joined by 2010 wide receivers coach Jeff Reinebold. This is PonyFans Live.